Hey, welcome to part 3. And again, I'm gonna have a little sip of water because my throat is dry. I'm talking. Hmm, very good. So in this video, we're putting together everything that we have learned until now. I know I'm having you some troubles with some big words, but you can see that now you're experts and you can do it very well. And now you understand everything that we're talking about because you're now biology experts. Yes, for sure. So here I have what makes an ecosystem. So remember, we're talking about the ecological levels. We have discussed right now what happens inside populations, how they interact between each other. I mean, they compete, remember? We have competition. They compete for shelter. They compete for food, and they also compete for mates and reproduction. But this could also happen between communities. Remember, between species. This is an inter-specific relationship. I get so confused with that. Inter-specific relationship when we're talking about communities, and intra-specific when we're talking about only about populations. And communities, remember, they can work together. I mean, they can also fight, like in competition. Some of them serve as food for others. That is called predation. And some of them, I mean, different species may need to work together to survive. Remember that it's mutualism when both of them get like beneficial. And this is a type of symbiosis. I know a lot of new terms and new words, but I know you can do that. We have commensalism when one gets a positive benefit of this and the other one is like, I don't mind you. Parasitism when one gets a benefit and the other one is affected, like flies and all that stuff. Yeah, well, for sure there are a lot of other interactions. I mean, things always can be like more complicated in biology, but we're gonna leave that until there, and we're gonna study a little bit more about ecosystems. So going in this line of the ecological levels, we have populations, communities, and the next step is ecosystems. And ecosystems, what they have, well, their characteristic is that they put together living and non-living things. Living and non-living. Okay, things, yeah, things. Okay. This is the characteristics about ecosystem because now we're putting together living things like animals, plants, fungi, bacteria, parasites, and all that stuff that you already know. And non-living things like, for example, rocks, water, the sun, the air, the wind, and all that stuff. That's what we're seeing like right now. Remember, you can always pause the video so you can copy whatever you want to copy. Very good. So actually we have it here. We need to understand an ecosystem and how it interacts, we need to distinguish between biotic and abiotic factors. And what the hell is that? Well, let's go into it. Biotic factors, remember everything that says bio, it's related to life. And imagine that my internet is working and I'm able to open this button. Why not? Well, everything that says bio means that it's alive. It has life. So in few words, biotic mean plants and animals and bacteria and fungi. Everything that has life, everything that is alive, it's there in biotic factors. And abiotic factors means abiotic, the A before means that it has no life. So by abiotic, we're referring to everything that is not alive. Well, in open abiotics. Well, you have here, every physical or non-living factors are associated to abiotic things. Here we can find the humidity or temperature or the sun, the wind, the rocks, the sun, the rain, the soil, everything that gives structure to an ecosystem, that it provides nutrients and everything that is needed in this ecosystem. I mean, the river, well, all the tops are here because they're not alive. They're part of the ecosystem because they're part of the environment, but they are not alive. Okay, well, now it opens the biotic. Well, here in biotics means living factors. We're talking about birds, plants, fungi, algae, insects, bacteria, animals, everything that is alive and relates on inter-specific relationships for survival. So everything that affects these organisms will influence the entire ecosystem. We have discussed that when we talk about trophic pyramids. We said that anything that happens and that breaks the balance and breaks the pyramid will affect the ecosystem. But that also implies that anything that alters or changes the abiotic factors, remember the humidity, the sun, the weather, and all that stuff, the climate, and the rocks and wind, will also affect the ecosystem because it's like the other half of this ecosystem. And so if we change, instead of having a desert, we have a rainy forest, well, the kind of organisms living there, it's different because they need different things. Usually we analyze a desert, for example, the animals and plants here have special characteristics that makes them fit to that environment. But if we transfer that, I mean, just think about it. Think that we have, I don't know, maybe a mice that lives on the desert, and then suddenly we decide that it's a good idea to put that mice on a river or in the ocean. Well, the mice doesn't have the ability or the capacity to survive in that environment, so it will die for sure. And that's cruelty. That's animal cruelty. Don't do that. Uh, anyway, that's what happened when we're altering the ecosystems. I mean, again, life is so amazing that it has this tremendous capacity of adapting itself to changing environments, but it takes time. It takes a lot of time. So if we continue on the same rhythm that we have, like making changes like every day or so, well, life is not that or potential to change. And so we have to give life some space to renew itself. So very good. So an ecosystem is a biological community and all the abiotic factors that affect it, meaning that we have biotic things and abiotic things, living things and not living things. And I have this image here that you can see where I have an organism where I just have one fish, so you can remember the levels of organization. We have here a lot of these of the same fish. We have a lot of them. This is a population. Then we have them interacting with other organisms here, and that's a community. And we take into account the water and other species and bigger things. We are talking about an ecosystem. There's another video here that you can play if you want. I'm not doing it here because a video inside a video, that feels like video inception. Old joke, I think. Never mind. Well, we have already said that organisms compete between each other and between others for, we said shelter, we said food, and we said mates. Okay, so what happens with shelter and their homes? Well, actually, a place where an organism lives, I mean, its home, it's called an habitat. Habitat. That's the definition. And the role that it plays in that ecosystem, whatever they are playing. I mean, think about it like, for example, in your house is your habitat. And the role that you play there, for example, in this case, you're the son or the oldest son or the oldest daughter or the oldest sibling or the youngest sibling or the, I don't know, whatever role you have in your house, in your family, that's your ecological niche, because the role you play is the ecological niche. So for example, if we think about a lion, yes, I'm always using lion as an example. So if we think about a lion, it lives on the savanna, it's its habitat, but its role or its ecological niche is to be the biggest predator. It's the one that controls the populations, and it's in charge of this balance because it's our big carnivore, it's our tertiary consumer, so it's our predator. We can click on these to find more definitions, but I think that's mostly it. So if you think about this huge tree, this is the habitat. It's an area where organisms live, because it's not just about this tree. I mean, this space here is where this tree lives, and also some birds live here, and some insects and a lot of things may live here, right? But if we take into account their role in this niche, in this habitat, we can see that they have a niche. So for example, think about the tree and the fruits that it produces. Maybe that's the producers. Well, actually, those are the producers. And then we have insects, and these are our primary consumers. And then we have some birds, and remember, these were our secondary consumers. They're omnivores. And depending on where they live, they will play a different role. So for example, we have some birds that live on the bottom of this tree, some of them live on the middle, some of them live on the very top, and so they have different needs for food, shelter, and reproduction. Maybe the ones that lives on the top of the trees are, for example, hawks and falcons, because they need to be like very, very high, because they need to see whatever is there so they can prey. But for example, a very small bird, it needs to be like on the bottom of this tree where there are more leaves, because there is more shelter, and so they can hide themselves from bigger prey. So they have a different niche here. They have a different role. Also, here is a video. Here you have a video if you want to watch that video instead of me. And yeah, that's it for it. Oh, I think that's the last slide. Yes, very good. So there is another video if you want to watch a video. And for this part, I will say goodbye and see you on part 4. I'm going to make a series of this for sure. Bye-bye.